Hey everyone, Michael here, and today we are going to be talking about this massive railroad strike that's about to happen in a few days. We're going to be talking about what Joe Biden's plan is, Bernie Sanders, a few other Republican senators as well. That way, you guys have an idea of what's going on here because it is pretty chaotic, and you could probably say that the president is making a massive mistake, but let's talk about this. Now, we're going to be hopping onto Twitter here because everybody has put out their own statements talking about if they're going to vote for this bill or not. But right now, Joe Biden has said this. I'm calling on Congress to pass legislation immediately to adopt the tentative agreement between railroad workers and operators. Let me be clear, a railroad shutdown would devastate our economy. Without freight rail, many U.S. industries would shut down. He goes on to say, as a proud pro-labor president, I'm reluctant to override the ratification procedures and views of those who voted against the agreement. But in this case, where the economic impact of a shutdown would hurt millions, I believe Congress must use its powers to adopt this deal. No one should have to choose between their job and their health or their health of their children. I have pressed legislation, not passed, pressed legislation, and proposals to advance the cause of paid leave in my 2 years of office and will continue to do so. He then says, at this critical moment for our economy in this holiday season, we cannot hurl the U.S. into a devastating freight rail shutdown. Congress should get this bill to my desk as soon as possible so we can avoid disruption. Now, the big thing here is he's getting a lot of flack from both parties here, Democrats and Republicans, because this is what's going on. A while ago, President Biden put in more of a pro-corporate, anti-union guy in charge to make a deal between the railroad industry and the labor unions, okay? During that time frame, the union bosses accepted a pretty bad deal for their workers because it gave them no sick leave. Imagine not being able to take a sick day because if you do, you're going to get penalized at work. Kind of crazy, right? Now, after that deal was agreed to, they had to wait a few months in order to do votes, or a few weeks, to do a vote to see if their union workers wanted to accept the proposal from the government and the railroad workers, okay? And they said no. And so now we're back to a negotiation process. The railroad companies have refused to negotiate further because they know that Joe Biden is going to be doing this type of thing. So that means they have no incentive to keep on negotiating in good faith, I would say, right? Now, here's what some of the other people out there have been saying. Here's Bernie Sanders. Let's listen to this quick video. It should be nice and easy, just about a minute long.
Chris, in the last 3 quarters of this year alone, the railroad industry made $21 billion in profits, provided $25 billion in stock buybacks and dividends, and they are paying their CEOs, in some cases, $14 million a year, $10 million a year, $20 million a year, whatever it may be. Meanwhile, for workers on the railroads, they have zero, underlined zero, guaranteed sick leave. In other words, somebody comes down with COVID tomorrow. They're going to get penalized because they don't come into work. Somebody is having a baby, can't go to their wife's side. So what we are fighting for, and I think we stand a reasonable chance to succeed, is to take the agreement that the President and Labor Secretary negotiated and add 7 days of paid sick leave, guaranteed sick leave to that. And what I'm hearing is not only is that going to be taken up in the House tomorrow, I'm hearing that there's strong, or at least some, Republican support for it in the Senate.
Okay. So there you got Bernie Sanders' statement. So this is pretty interesting. So Biden says he wants a bill to force the workers to go back to work or to continue working, even if they say no to their union contracts, right? Or the union deal, which is really terrible. President Biden is what you consider a pro-labor president. He and labor unions get along fantastically most of the time. Labor unions give a lot of donations to the Democratic Party. That's the way it's been working for the past half a century, according to, that's what my opinion, I guess. Now, Bernie Sanders is still okay with forcing a deal through and not letting the normal negotiation practice go forward. And that, to me, is still kind of a bad sign. However, he wants to adjust the deal, adjust the agreement to add sick leave, because that's the big sticking point right now, okay? To go from no sick leave to 7 days, that's at least progress. Although I believe the unions are asking for about 15 days, but maybe that can be, that's the negotiated compromise, if you will, okay? Now, we're going to move over to just a joke to lighten things up here. And this is one from David Sirota. He's the founder, editor-in-chief of Lever News. I don't know really what this is, but it looks like he was part of the people that built or made Don't Look Up, which is a more of a liberal movie, if you will, but I think it was still a good, very good movie. Usually, as long as politics aren't totally crazy, as long as it's good, it's good, or entertaining, it's good, right? Now he says the Democratic Party siding with literal railroad barons and is some real 19th century top hat and monocle guy hiring the Pinkerton shit. Um, you know, it does feel kind of weird to see Democrats siding with the against unions because normally they kind of click together. We're gonna have to wait to see how these votes all unfold. First, it's gonna go to the House, then the Senate, and then we should be good. But all 100 senators have to agree to let the bill go on the floor. Otherwise, they're gonna have to debate it. One senator can mess up that whole situation here. Now, let's go over to two Republicans because we just finished off with two Democrats. We have Marco Rubio here first, and he says the railways and workers should go back and negotiate a deal that the workers, not just the union bosses, will accept. But if Congress is forced to do it, I will not vote to impose a deal that does not have the support of the rail workers. So he's a no vote on this. So he's not going to force the deal to go through. I am more of this viewpoint on this particular topic. I don't know if this is all politics, guys. I don't like deal in the realm of politics too much, but I could definitely see Republicans taking advantage of this to hurt Biden and also help workers. So it's like a 2-for-1, right? You get to also appear like you help you are very pro labor, and then you also get to take a jab at Joe Biden for being anti-labor. So this is the proper political stance, I think, on this particular topic, because I think no matter which news organization you're on, if you're supporting the workers, that's going to be better than supporting the railroad bosses, the barons, if you will. Now, over here, we got one more from Josh Hawley. He says, Mr. Pro-Worker Joe Biden wants to use federal government to force railroad workers in Missouri and around the nation to accept contract terms they rejected, not with my support. So you're going to see a lot of this going forward, a lot of posturing going on. And if you guys just go over to Twitter and you guys just type in railroad workers, you guys are going to see that people are just pretty ticked off, okay? This is Danny DeVito, the big guy himself, the small guy himself, small yet big guy himself. No, Joe, you were supposed to help the railroad workers. You got it backwards. A handful of sick days, come on. Workers of the world unite. And this is, how I think a lot of Americans feel out there. They don't want the government to force people to have to take a shitty deal. I mean, that's horrible, right? Now, even AOC is saying railroad workers grind themselves to the bone for this country, and as their labor produces billions for Wall Street, they demand the basic dignity of paid sick days. I stand with them. If Congress intervenes, it should be to have workers' backs and secure their demands in legislation. So she still might be open to the bill, but it seems like she wants it to be amended, something like how Bernie Sanders was. So you're seeing that difference right now between the parties. One party is still okay. Actually, it's probably mixed. I bet those Democrats, because I haven't, not everybody has put out a statement, probably keeping their cards close to their vest, so to speak. But I think you might see mixed results on both parties here, but the Republican Party might have more of an incentive to jab Biden and stand with labor, while the Democrats are kind of more split as far as, hey, let's get this bill done, while you might see some more progressives saying, hey, let's get this bill done, but let's amend it to give them at least 7 days of sick leave here. I want to know your guys' thoughts because this is absolutely insane, and I didn't think we would be talking about this in this type of scenario. I thought that there would be a strike without government intervention because the railroad bosses have been giving some really shitty deals or shitty offers. So let me know what you guys think.